A fortnight ago in Shoreham, there were over 60 Father Christmases, along with Mary, Joseph, a star, camels, and, oh yes, some elves as well. Nothing unusual about that, you might say, except that they were all on the river and they were all on paddle boards. One of the great things about the Christmas story is that it can be told and celebrated in so many different ways and understood in so many different ways. And that goes right back to the New Testament. Matthew, Mark, Luke and John all have their own slant on the story. Matthew tells of wise men, mysterious figures following the star, powerful and important figures. They don't say anything. They simply kneel and worship. And then Matthew tells of another powerful figure, King Herod. Far from kneeling, he sets out to kill the baby and all the other children of that age too. They become collateral damage. And the little family become refugees, fleeing for their lives. A story that we can all relate to today. In contrast, Mark is the gospel writer for those who don't make very much of Christmas. Maybe they don't see what all the fuss is about. Maybe this time of year has just too many painful memories. Mark doesn't mention the Christmas story at all. He begins with Jesus, the young man, coming to John the Baptist, his cousin, at the beginning of his ministry. With Luke, well, we're on familiar ground. He tells of the birth of Jesus in the stable and the visit of the shepherds. They figure on so many Christmas cards as an idealized picture out on the hills with the sheep all around them. But being a shepherd in those days was a dangerous job. There were wild animals and robbers to contend with. And despite their vital work, they were treated as the lowest of the low because they couldn't observe all the religious customs and rituals. People doing vital work that probably no one else wanted to do, taken for granted and with little respect from society. Another story that we can all relate to today. And then comes John's Gospel. It's read at the end of many traditional carol services of 9 lessons and carols, and it's introduced with the words, St. John unfolds the mystery of the Incarnation. Whenever I hear that, I think, well, I'm not sure that's right. It starts, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Not exactly easy reading, not exactly easy to understand. But John is using the philosophy of his day to try to explain how Jesus can be fully God and fully human. He's moved on from telling the story of what happened to trying to understand what it means. His is the gospel for people who are more interested in ideas than history. So that flotilla of paddleboarders were just part of a long line of people who've celebrated the Christmas story down the ages in many different ways. People who've tried to understand it in so many different ways. And each one of us today will have our own individual take on what it all means. They are all important. They are all welcome. And you are all welcome here today. Although I suspect that for most of us, at this time of year and in this weather, paddleboarding might be taking it just a bit too far.